Senator Grassley wants to at least finish this part of the agenda before we have to break. And Senator Grassley, you have an amendment?
Yeah, I do. It's ALB 13190, requiring the Attorney General to submit an annual report to Congress detailing a number of statistics regarding the Department's prosecution of violation of federal firearms law. The amendment would require the Attorney General to provide information related to cases presented to the Department from prosecution, federal, state, and local, for violation of gun laws. It also requires information on cases where the Department failed to file charges based upon these referrals. It requires information why cases were not charged, whether indictments are pending, whether plea agreements were entered, whether the defendant pled guilty or was found guilty, and what other charges were brought along with the firearms law. This report is necessary, so I want to emphasize necessary given the concern we heard at all three hearings about the lack of prosecutions under the current laws. Example, it was discussed at the subcommittee hearing how over 76,000 individuals were denied firearms under background checks, and yet only 62 were prosecuted. This argument, the argument we heard from the Department, was that nearly impossible to prosecute these individuals because penalties are too low and violations too hard to prove. I think this is too simple of an argument, but understands some of the concerns. However, even if we do pass any of the bills on the markup agenda today and they become law, we need to ensure that they are enforced. And if we do not obtain detailed information about how the Department enforces or fails to enforce, we won't know if new legislation works. So this is a necessary step to ensure that changes in federal laws have a desired impact. Now I understand the Justice Department strongly opposes. Their concern is that it intrudes into the prosecutorial decision-making. They also argue it unnecessarily burdens them with reports that detract from prosecuting criminals. These are arguments that we hear all the time from the Department and many other agencies that don't want Congress overseeing them. And of course, I don't buy it, and members shouldn't simply take their word for it. Reports like this wouldn't be necessary if the Department answered our letters and responded to our questions about oversight, and particularly if they did it at hearings. Just as an example, Senator Whitehouse and I pointed out to the Attorney General yesterday that we still await answers to questions from the last oversight hearing we had with the Attorney General June last year. With a response time like that, we may never know how the Department is working. An annual report would require the Department to provide us data regularly and likely faster than if we asked the Attorney General himself. So I urge my colleagues to support this amendment so we can collect data. We need to ensure the Department prosecute the laws on the books, and I'd like to have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is a big, broad amendment. It seeks to determine whether a decision has been made to charge an individual with a firearms violation. In cases where no charge was made, a description of why no charge was filed, whether an indictment, information, or other charge has been brought against any person, whether in any case that's charged, whether a firearm violation is alleged, whether in any case where a firearms violation is alleged, a plea agreement has been entered into, and whether any plea agreement resulted in a firearms conviction. It also includes, in any case where there is no firearms conviction resulted, identification of the charges for which the individual did plead guilty, the result of any trial on an alleged firearms violation, and in any case not alleging a violation of firearm laws, the nature of the other charges brought and the result of any trial. Now, having said that, I think the kernel of this is a good thing, and I think we should, if we can, get to the kernel of it and get that established. there are lots of these violations, some 70,000, and it's an overwhelming task. I'd offer, Senator, and I think my word, I hope you think my word means something, to work with you and try to work down to that kernel so that we get something that is doable. Senator Graham had this discussion. I understand the point. I think we should have something. This is huge and broad, and I think that's why Justice poses.
Well, the senators asked for a roll call vote, and the clerk will. Senator Durbin.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say a word in support of Senator Feinstein's position in opposing this amendment. In the Southern District of Illinois, based in the Madison-St. Clair County area, the U.S. Attorney Steve Wigginton is faced with a situation which is troubling. My hometown, where I was born, East St. Louis, Illinois, has a violent crime rate and murder rate 18 times the national average. 18 times the national average. The carnage that goes on in that small town with the misuse of firearms is incredible, and they are doing everything they can to deal with it. Because of budget cutbacks that we have imposed in Congress, he has now reached the point where he cannot fill vacancies when U.S. attorneys retire or resign. What they've done is to solicit by advertisement those who are willing to volunteer without any pay to serve as an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Illinois, and some are coming forward to do it. It's an indication of the workload they face and the desperate situation they're in to try to take control of what is a violent, terrible thing menacing a lot of innocent people. Senator Grassley, this is an incredible amount of paperwork which you're asking for. For every possible case that is reported to them by federal, state, and local sources, they are required to file voluminous paperwork in response to your amendment. Instead of pursuing the criminals and those who are responsible for wrongdoing, they're going to be filing forms with the Department of Justice. I think we know what the problem is here. This is a paperwork offense under the current law. We want to make it a serious offense, and that's why some of the changes we're considering today will make a difference. But I really think that Senator Feinstein's right. Let's get down to the root of the problem, regular reporting, but please don't impose this kind of paperwork requirement on many offices that are struggling to survive.
I disagree with you. There's such a big gap between prosecution and violation of the laws. We got to know why these are not being prosecuted, and if they don't prosecute them, they ought to be telling us why they don't prosecute them. And I think this report answers those questions and will help fill the gap, and I'll bet we'll get more prosecution.
Mr.
Clerk
Chairman,
will call the.
I'm actually going to.
No, I don't want to cut anybody off. We know we're going to
Okay. I'll just,
be recessing.
I can put it on the record later.
Senator Grassley said
I'll
like to
put
get
it on the record later.
I'd like to get this bill finished this morning before we do. Does the senator wish to?
Put it on the record later
Okay,
if you're
thank
concerned about time.
Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Feinstein.
No.
Mr. Schumer.
No.
Mr. Durbin. Mr. Whitehouse.
No.
Ms. Klobuchar. Aye. Mr. Franken. No. Mr. Coons. No. Mr. Blumenthal. No. Ms. Hirono. No. Mr. Grassley.
Aye.
Mr. Hatt.
Aye.
Mr. Sessions.
Aye, by proxy.
Mr. Graham.
Aye, by proxy.
Mr. Cornyn. Aye. Mr. Lee.
Aye.
Mr. Cruz.
Aye.
Mr. Flake.
Aye, by proxy.
Mr. Chairman.
No.
Can I offer another amendment?
Mr. Chairman.
I know you.
Mr. Chairman, the votes are 9 yeas, 9 nays.
By the
And
way,
then the amendment fails.
let me leave no doubt about it. Senator Feinstein does work well with me and with other people of the committee, and I hope we can work out something to accomplish some of the goals I want to accomplish. This is my last amendment. I don't do